item number 7, which is tab number 2. I'm just merely going to announce that we got a letter from Chairman Charlie Justice of the Pinellas County Commission asking us to look at updating the statute relating to the creation of the Pinellas County Construction Licensing Board, which is a special act of the legislature done in 1973. So that makes it 43 years ago. Maybe it's time to look at it and update it since some of the appointing organizations don't even exist anymore. And I'm going to appoint Representative Ahern as a committee of one to work on a proposed local bill that would do that update and bring that back to us at our January 31st meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Chairman, I just ask one question on that issue. So it's my understanding that some communities operate under a special act and some communities simply operate under ordinance. Since this might be an opportunity for us to shrink government and get rid of the special act altogether and let the county pick up this simply as an ordinance, I would just ask that Representative Ahern look at that proposal as well.
Then it is so agreed that that's what we're going to do. All right, we're now down to number 8, which is tab number 3. I want to introduce Mr. Walter Donnelly, representing the Alliance for Bayway Communities, to talk about wastewater issues. I've got some urgent business. I'm going to excuse myself for 5 minutes or so and turn the chair over to Representative Lytle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'm Walter Donnelly from the Alliance for Bayway Communities. We're a civic organization representing 48 community associations with 10,000 residents in Senator Brandy's and Representative Peters' districts. We're well known to Representative Newton on this issue. And I came prepared with a slide deck that obviously there's no way to present. It's been distributed to the delegation. Okay, you have it in your booklets. So I'll talk to some of these slides here from the podium. This next one, labeled "While We're Involved," shows a picture taken from one of the condominium towers in the Pinellas Bayway, showing some brown stuff. You're floating by the condominium association. We believe that that's from Tropical Storm Hermine, and we believe it came from St. Pete Beach, but it might have come from Gulfport. It didn't come from St. Petersburg. So this is water that we kayak in and swim in, etc. I'm sure you all get the point. That's why we're here. And as Representative Newton will recall, we were invited when all this came about in August of 2015 for the first time, when our neighbors at Eckerd College suffered a problem. We've been into this at the request of our elected officials in the city of St. Petersburg. Why I'm here today is not, I was at your 2 workshops, not to talk about what was presented there, but what you didn't hear. And there is a significant piece that you didn't hear. The next slide shows what St. Petersburg is doing in a $3 million program to review what goes on in the St. Petersburg wastewater system. The fact of the matter is, in all its existence, St. Petersburg has never done a study of what happens in wet weather. There have been some little bits and pieces around, but it's never been studied in completeness. Now, this is engineering, not magic. You have to have data, and St. Petersburg is spending $3 million by the end of this year to come up with the data to figure out what to fix. And it's not obvious. So that's just a show and tell. There's lots of little dots showing where flow meters exist. Now, one thing that's already been discovered, the next slide shows rain events, that there are different flavors of those. Some of them happen very intensely, very short period of time, like Tropical Storm Hermine, and the other extreme is what happened in August of 2015, where it's very, very low levels of rain over a long period. And both of those cause major overflows. So, what does that mean? I refer you to this one here that talks about a single flow meter, and this is actual data from the consultant. And you'll see at the bottom of the graph is a 2 million gallon a day line from this one flow meter that went by this flow meter. The purple at the bottom is the sewage. The next section above that, it's in green and the colored view graphs, is water that just leaks in. A lot of these pipes are underneath the water table all the time, and they have junctions and they have cracks, et cetera, all those problems that you can think about. And dry weather, wet weather, that's what flows through this. And then there are some peaks. That comes from the rainwater. And the view graph shows one in August, in early August, that did not overflow, but it was close. It was within an inch or two of overflowing. And then Tropical Storm Hermine, where the actual water that the plants have to process is up to 10 times the sewage that comes in. So we have the question then of, do we process water, or do we go fix the problem, which is leakage into the pipes? So the next view graph shows something that was addressed at the last workshop. Where does this come from? Representative Peters had some very, very smart approaches to looking at private areas, private pipe, to fix some of the problems when people break the cleanouts. That will help. But showing the red top of these are all the meters that were in existence in early September. That's where the inflow is, from the opening things at the surface of the ground. And it's a very minor portion of where the problem is. The larger bars, the green part, is the continual leakage. And what happens is the water table comes up and it surrounds these pipes and it leaks in on private property and on public property. Okay, the next one shows sources of inflow and infiltration. That's the buzzword. The inflow is in St. Petersburg. And the dark green areas show that 10 to 15% of all the rainwater that falls in those areas winds up in the sewer system. And that's, you can imagine some of the rainstorms we had, particularly during the storm, Tropical Storm Hermine. That's a lot of water. And, no wonder it overflows. And there are other, sections of the city that, are better off, but, some of them are on the verge of that. Finally, I have a show and tell here about Orangeburg pipe, something used from 1920s to 1960s to do inexpensive houses to private homes. It's wood fiber and tar pressed together in a form. It's now been outlawed by most of the codes. It's paper pipe. And the city of St. Petersburg has found that a lot of the areas where they're having significant inflow problems, it has that type of pipe, as do many of the cities that are as old as St. Petersburg. So my last view graph, I'd like to reassure you that the city of St. Petersburg, elected officials, non-elected officials, public, city council, are absolutely engaged in this. It's the top of the list. It goes back for decades, the causes of it, and there are some unfortunate hubris and technical arrogance decisions made that contributed to it, but the city is all over it. But it's not just a city issue. From what I know, all the communities in this area have similar problems to varying degrees. So it is probably a statewide issue as well. And there are no simple solutions. The city is doing everything it can before next June to try to put more capacity in place, but they're not going to make it if we get hit by Tropical Storm Hermine again. So don't be surprised if there's another overflow next summer. What the legislature can do to help is the private laterals thing. It's a policy issue of how do you go on private property to encourage property owners, these are not indigents, they're property owners, to do maintenance. And finally, I'd ask you, the city of St. Petersburg, through rates, through bonding, has identified half of the funding necessary to fix this problem over the next 5 years. But there's a big shortfall, and we're up against the limits of what the ratepayers can do, and also the bonding agencies. So I'm asking for your help if you can figure out an innovative way to kind of help not only St. Petersburg, but the rest of the beach communities in the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Members, y'all have any questions? Representative Newton?
Yeah, I just want to commend you for the work that you've done. You met with me numerous times when I was on council in St. Petersburg. And Councilman Cornell and myself dwelled against this idea of shutting off facilities, you know, taking 20% of your capacity offline, but we were outvoted 62 in what we know is home rule. But I do admire you for staying the course. I mean, the bulk of that was down in your area and around Edgar College, and it was devastating. So, but we're here, and I appreciate you hanging in there.
Any other questions? I don't know if y'all saw this week that the city of St. Petersburg has hired a spokesman for their public works department at nearly $100,000 a year. And it would be interesting to see how many other cities in Florida have a public works spokesman, especially when they already have a communications department within the city. But I guess we're all hoping that there's no rain next summer. So.
You saw that, Mr. Sheriff. The irony of that was, I saw that too. I thought we already had a public mouthpiece, and I saw yesterday where they got hit with $820,000 in fines, and immediately after announcing that the $90,000 public spokesman, the media asked them for comment, and they wouldn't comment. So I don't understand.
Already getting their money's worth. Although I did notice that they did establish a public works Twitter spokesman page or whatever. So
With a selfie.
maybe that will help them the next time it floods down there. Next on the agenda is public testimony. And first up is Dr. Long.
Mr. Chairman, members of the congregation. First of all, let me say thanks for all you've done for St. Petersburg College. You have never not listened to our needs. You have worked diligently to meet those needs. And particularly on behalf of our students, you have always been generous with your time when our students are in Tallahassee, and all of you have taken time from your schedules to meet with them and to greet them. It makes a difference in their life and their educational experience. I'm here today, once again, for the final part of the facilities money for our St. Pete Gibbs Student Success Center. Last year, we had a request for $20 million. We would put up 5, the state would give us 20. We would replace the oldest building on the oldest campus. Working through the process last year, everybody was for it, everybody helped us. We got half of the money, because we couldn't use it all in 1 year anyway. So we got half of the money, and I'm back to be sure to say thank you for that, but don't leave us hanging. You see on the brochure we sent them, and you should have them in your folder. We have already demolished the old parts of the building. We've rerouted the electrical, we've rerouted the communications, we've rerouted the HVAC lines that come into that part. So we're all anxiously awaiting for the second half, and we will get that done in a timely fashion. I think it should be, it's never easy, but I did not want to not take the opportunity to say thanks for all you've done. This is the last piece, and I get a chance to see you in Tallahassee, and if you have any questions, please let me know. If there are any questions, then I will get out of the way.
Thank you very much, Dr. Law. And we do have a question or comment from Representative Peters.
Dr. Law, I just want to thank you for the years of incredible service that you have provided to the students in Pinellas County. You have been amazing and wonderful, and you have done so much for that college. There just aren't words that I can use to express my gratitude for your professionalism and what you've brought to this community. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Representative Newt.
Thank you. I too want to echo that, Dr. Law. We've been in the trenches many times down in Midtown in St. Pete. I remember when they wanted to shut down that college and just shutter it, but you came in, and not only did you keep it there, you improved it with a $40 million investment in one of our most impoverished counties, in impoverished areas in the whole county. And because of that, people are able to go there and walk there and get 4-year degrees now, right, in the community. And I want to thank you for all you've done. I reached out to you. Ben and I was in orientation in Tallahassee when I heard the news, and I told you you couldn't go, so we're going to drag it out until, I don't know, next year, year after next, then you have to stay. So
Help my wife to do it.
Well, thank you, sir. I really
Thank you all.
appreciate you coming to the St. Pete College and the county a better place. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Doctor, for your service.
I want to add my word of thanks for 7 years of good service here and a number of years in Tallahassee before that. And you've been a great leader for the college, made a lot of progress. Don't really like to see you go, as I told you personally, but understand what you want to try to accomplish. So.
Just don't leave me halfway up the flagpole on this building. Broken the eggs. Thank you, sir. Thank you
All right, Arthur O'Hara, tab number 5, representing our club child care.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I'm going to be very brief this morning. The tab that you have is about our club. It's about voluntary pre-K, and it's talking about the need for an expansion of VPK statewide to increase the number of hours in a day. I think there's some examples in there that are rather striking, and also looking at the rate. The current rate is per child is less than the rate was in 2008. We're less than half of what Alabama's funding, and Representative Ahern was at a presentation and looked rather surprised when that information came out. What we've been talking about is going from the 3-hour-a-day VPK program to 6 hours a day. It's critical to get kids ready for school. VPK works. It will work much better when those kids have a 6-hour day and they're ready for kindergarten when they get to that stage. It reduces the need for remediation in the public schools, and if kids are reading by 3rd grade, if they're on grade level, they're pretty much on their way for success. You know, we learn to read by 3rd grade, and after 3rd grade, we read to learn. We've got to get these kids ready to be reading, so VPK is critical. Moving to another subject, just very quickly. Most of you also know that I represent the Louise Grimm Regeneration Center, which employs adults with developmental disabilities, and I want to thank you for what you've been doing for that center for a number of years. Last year, we were successful in getting a $250,000 to expand our shredding business. The shredder, which more than doubles our capacity, is currently under construction. We expect delivery sometime in January. But just so you know, when we took over there in 2006, there were about 30 clients. We have 72 now, with a long waiting list. We're shredding more than 1 million pounds of paper a year and about 600,000 pounds of cardboard a year that gets sold to mills, creates jobs for folks with disabilities. We've expanded the employment opportunities. We've gone into partnership with a ink cartridge recycling company called eCartridge, and currently they have 3 of our employees working, 2 in the assembly line of taking apart and reassembling printer cartridges, and then 1 of them provides maintenance and service on all the printers in Pasco County school system. So there are great opportunities for folks with disabilities. You have to find the right training, the right support, and the right kinds of competitive employment. And I want to thank you all for helping us make that possible. So, thanks. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. O'Hara. I'm going to, you have a question, Representative Ahern?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, more of just a comment on what Mr. O'Hara is talking about with the early learning programs and the pre-K. You know, we spend a lot of time and money talking about, you know, our preeminent universities and what we would like to do there, but sometimes we don't look at the beginning, and I happen to be up at Dunedin High School talking to a college preparation class, and one of the teachers that